time and energy to serving Monterey County as a volunteer for several community-based organizations. For 29 years, she volunteered to help the homeless at Northeast Place. She was intricately involved in the creation of the Women Alive Emergency Shelter Program and was a consistent contributor and promoter of the House of Peace Transitional Living Program. Jane was also a constant volunteer in her faith community, promoting mission efforts, both locally and internationally. She led groups of young people on mission trips to Mexicali and Tijuana, Mexico, teaching Bible study and building houses. Her church, Northminster Presbyterian, has been consistently involved in homeless programs under Jane's leadership. Perhaps the most significant impact of Jane Anton was her influence on others, modeling and leading others to service, whether at school, church, I Help, Dorothy's Place. She continually promoted the value of service in others. Jane's commitment to service extended from the time she relocated to Salinas to her passing in 2014. Even as she faced the challenges of illness, she remained concerned that the service to others would continue. It is with great pride that we honor Jane today as Outstanding Woman of the Year, and here to receive this award is her beloved husband, Roger Anton.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Definitely I'm not Jane. My name is Roger Anton, and my wife was Mary Jane Anton, also referred to as Jane, Janie, Mimi, Nina. She would have felt extremely honored but humbled by this recognition. She actively and graciously avoided the spotlight for herself, but was eager to illuminate the plight and work of others. On behalf of her family and friends, I greatly appreciate today's honor. But who was Jane Anton? Allow me to introduce you to her. Jane was born in Panama City, Florida, but moved to San Bernardino, California when she was 5. She was only 7 when her father passed away, and she grew up alone with her mother. Those days shaped and formed the person we celebrate today. As a single parent, her mother had to go to work, and the two of them developed a special relationship, one that made Jane independent, resilient, self-reliant, and confident. Jane learned to persevere in everything she undertook. Jane developed her values and commitment to others, always ready to offer a hand up to anyone in need. After high school graduation, she taught preschool in San Bernardino until we were married 48 years ago. While I served in the Army, Jane taught in El Paso, Texas, Colorado Springs, even drove the school bus in the snow. Our daughter Lisa was born in Fort Carson just before we were discharged from the service. Upon returning to San Bernardino, Jane entered the retail world with May Company Department Store, first as training director, and then department manager, and finally as personnel director. She had our second daughter, Christine, in San Bernardino at that time. But she left retailing to complete her bachelor's degree in history at Long Beach State University prior to the family's move to Monterey County in 1984. Living in Yucaipa, Jane began to expand her volunteer work with youth groups, Girl Scouts, Bobby Sox softball, Sunday school. She stepped in when no one else would, leading her Girl Scout cadet troop, even before our daughters were old enough to join. The principles she learned as a young girl urged her to become involved and help others. After the move to Monterey County, Jane taught first and second grade in Christian schools in Pacific Grove and Seaside for more than 20 years. She took a 9-year hiatus from teaching to serve as Director of Christian Education at Northminster Presbyterian Church in Salinas. She retired from Monterey Bay Christian School in 2009, ready to spend time and travel with me and our travel dog, Daisy. That was Jane, and highlights the essence of this amazing woman. Today, though, is an acknowledgement of her service to others. Life is full of opportunities. Jane capitalized on those opportunities and dedicated herself to others. As you've heard, homelessness was one of Jane's priorities. She began volunteering at Dorothy's Place in 1985 on Thanksgiving Day with her family. and then regularly on weekends in the kitchen, including being the coordinator of weekend volunteers to ensure that there was a church group there every Saturday and Sunday to cook and serve the guests on Soledad Street. Jane served on the board of directors of Dorothy's for almost 15 years, including tenure as board president prior to her death on her birthday last December. She insisted on caring and loving each person she met, focusing on them and serving their needs. Each person was treated with respect and dignity, regardless of his or her particular situation. It was not simply a meal, but connecting with another human being, making him or her feel valued and important. She learned their names, shared their stories, and extended friendship to each person she met. She herself was hailed by name on the streets of Salinas by those she had befriended who merely wanted to say hello and enjoy a conversation with her. Dorothy's expanded its programs to include housing in the House of Peace. Jane played a major role in its launch and growth. The Women Alive program secured a place for women to stay in the night and enjoy a meal. Jane was there to guide its implementation and success. Jane did not reside on Soledad Street, but she lived on Soledad Street. While helping at Dorothy's Place, Jane was also instrumental in expanding the Salinas I Help program for homeless men. From 7 churches providing emergency housing for 5 days a week in the winter to 26 churches opening their doors every night year-round. Jane was there. For 21 years, I Help offered a hand up, not a handout. A hand up, not a handout. That was one of Jane's primary philosophies of service. Her influence on others established I Help and homelessness as central cores of the mission work for Northminster Presbyterian Church members, her church. But her mission work didn't stop with the homeless. As a church youth leader, she initiated, participated, and led groups of young people in the community, around the state, across the country, and internationally, to provide service to others. Those young people today are in their 30s, carrying on Jane's tradition of helping others everywhere they live. In 2008, Jane received the Jefferson Award for Public Service for her multifaceted service to the community. Instrumental in the award, though, was the influence she had on inspiring others to perform service. Jane was always a teacher. Jane was the catalyst to engage others in service. Today, countless partners across the country are continuing Jane's work, one individual at a time. They are each making a difference in their communities and are influencing their neighbors to do the same. Several of Jane's favorite quotes reflect her sentiment about the work she did. From Mahatma Gandhi, "My life is my message." And "You must be the change you want to see in the world." From E. Andrews, who said, "Volunteers do not necessarily have the time. They just have the heart." Jane's personal service is done. Her legacy is perpetual. Our family, friends, and supporters thank you again for this distinction and enduring honor. Thank you.